Welcome to Mr. Piyush Somani.
Thank you. I'm excited.
Let us test your entrepreneurial intuition. What is the first question do you think I'm going to ask you?
Say something about yourself.
You saw that coming, right?
Yeah.
Okay, let me put it in another way. If you had to name one movie that would describe you, which one would it be?
The Pursuit of Happiness. So we've in that movie we saw the struggle of an entrepreneur and how much time it takes and how many efforts you have to put to be successful. So yeah, in my case also I've done that. I've also put a lot of effort, and then finally people see where I am today, but then very few people know about the journey which I had in those days, in those difficult days.
Thank you. So Mr. Somani, cloud solution is not just a thing for you, but it's your genesis and has become probably the most influential topic in today's era. How is ESDS placed today?
So as a cloud service provider in India, ESDS is amongst the top 3 cloud service providers in all the sectors. And then when it comes to the government sector and the banking sector, we are number 1 in that sector. We are hosting more than 350 banks on our cloud platform today, and more than 150 government organizations from all the states, central government undertakings, PSUs. And today more than like 50% of India's population fortnightly gets connected to our cloud platform. So roughly like almost 65 crore Indians in a span of 15 days through some or the other technology or solution that is hosted with ESDS are getting connected to us. So we have played a very crucial role in digital transformation of India, and by 2024 we'll be touching lives of 1 billion people in India. 1 billion people fortnightly will get connected to our cloud platform. That is, the penetration of digital technology is going to happen by that time, and we are going to be the pioneers of that.
I'm sure. ESDS ranked 15th in Asia's best place to work. How do you manage to strike a balance between people and profits?
So I never started the business for profit. So being an entrepreneur, a lot of people start the business to earn money, to earn livelihood, but that was not the purpose. Wherever I worked, I saw that the people were treated very badly, and then I decided that I want to be an entrepreneur but treat people very well. And I want to make sure that no one is like disrespected. Everyone in the organization is treated respectfully. And the culture 20 years back, like 18-20 years back, what I saw in all the organizations was that the more the senior a person is in the organization, someone who has spent 20 years, 30 years, 35 years in the organization, more the disrespect for that person. Because by that time the organization starts assuming that this person is now not going anywhere, and you treat him like a cat or a dog or a rat, whatever you want, and he or she is going to continue in the organization. And then I realized that if this is the case, then do I also want to be like that? Like what my father experienced or my eldest maternal uncle experienced in their days. They told me that, Piyush, this is how the service culture is in India, and longer time you spend in one organization, more difficult they make life for you. And they forced me, actually they literally forced me to be an entrepreneur, to start something on my own. And then I was not convinced initially when they used to say these things to me. I was not convinced, but then in 2 different organizations where I worked, I saw the same thing there. And then it clicked to me that okay, whatever my eldest maternal uncle or my father has been saying, they are absolutely right, and I need to follow them. So that was the point when I decided to make them my guru and took their blessings and took their guidance. And they said, like, Piyush, we have a firm belief that as an entrepreneur you will be very successful. I didn't have that belief in myself that I can be a good entrepreneur, I can run an organization, because I wanted to live a very simple life. Being a typical Indian engineer, I just wanted to do some engineering job somewhere. That was the only thought process in my mind. But because of the faith of my father and my eldest maternal uncle, the gurus I got, and then definitely the kind of support I got from my mother. And then when I started the business, when I started my startup, the people, their love and their respect for me, they all said that no, whatever you will do, we will like make sure we are there with you. We will support your decisions. So that further kept on boosting my confidence into being an entrepreneur, and that the journey started from there. Evolution happened from there.
Very well said. Thank you. Where do you get your entrepreneurial spirit from and how?
So I don't follow just any one person. There are lots and lots of people whom I follow. So I have, like as I said, my father and uncle are my gurus. So similarly, I have my HOD from my engineering days. He's my guru. And then I keep on learning from others. Like I'll see some of the decisions taken by Ratan Tata, or I'll see the decisions taken by Steve Jobs in certain situations, and Dhirubhai Ambani and Mukesh Ambani. So I keep on admiring a lot of people, and I try to take something good out of everyone. So I believe that no one individual can be God. So everyone has something from which you can take a leaf out of their book. So like Sachin Tendulkar is a fantastic cricketer. You can learn a lot of things from Sachin Tendulkar. But then Virat Kohli has upper hand in certain things where Sachin Tendulkar doesn't have an upper hand. Or MS Dhoni has upper hand in certain skills where Virat Kohli and Sachin Tendulkar may not have these skills. So everyone has some or the other thing good in them, and you want to follow those leaders, those champions, and take a leaf out of their book.
Thank you. The word entrepreneur often comes with a negative connotation, like corny capitalism, greed, selfishness. What is your definition of an entrepreneur?
An entrepreneur cannot be a greedy person or capitalist. A businessman can be a greedy person or a capitalist. So, like considering all the entrepreneurs as businessmen is not right, or considering all the industrialists as a businessman is not right. You need to differentiate between every entrepreneur. What is their purpose in their life? Are these entrepreneurs only focused on earning money and like building their own estates? So the purpose of the organization, the purpose of the entrepreneur needs to be well understood. And in our case, the purpose is to transform lives of people. Very clear, our focus is very clear. Focus on the 4 Bs, mission 4 Bs, planting 1 billion trees, touching lives of 1 billion people, ensuring that 1 billion people are happy with the transformation we have brought in their lives, and like taking our company to $1 billion level. But even more than that, ensuring that 1 billion devices get connected to us, because we believe that being an ethical company and being a very respected company, and then the level of precautions that we take, the kind of security that we maintain. So the future robots or the entire automation that is going to happen in the future, all the machines that are going to be there everywhere. Today machines are like separating us. Now whoever is watching our interview today is watching that behind a machine. So machines are going to separate us tomorrow. So we also want to make sure that 1 billion machines get connected to us, so that there is no ambiguity, or there are no security issues, no vulnerabilities left in the future which may hurt the existence of humanity.
Sure. Talking about global challenges, you came up with a COVID-19 testing solution and Raspberry. 2 diverse arenas. How do you juggle? There must be some link.
It's all about my passion. That once I have decided something, and then I purely focus on that. So one thing I have observed in a lot of other people is that every 3-4 days they have some or the other idea coming in. In my case, that's not the case. I get one idea probably once in a month, and in a year I will get like 12 big ideas, but out of those 12 big ideas I may probably focus on 1 or 2, not more than that. So every year my focus is very clear, not to do too many things, because I already have my plate full. There are so many things which I am already doing, and you cannot, being in India, being an Indian entrepreneur, you cannot get rid of operational problems. So 80-90% of your time is definitely going to be stuck in the operating problems. But I make sure that whatever time I get, I am able to concentrate, focus. I do a lot of meditation also, and then a lot of yoga and pranayam to make sure that my mental peace is there. I am happy all the time, and I am able to focus, and I can visualize. I do a lot of things to make sure that my intuition power keeps on improving, and I can think of the future, whatever is going to happen tomorrow. I am able to think of that. And this I saw 7 years back. Like Resvera, we launched this year, but 7 years back I realized that future human race is going to become very, very self-centric. People will want to live a healthy life. People would want to live longer and be happy. Whatever they eat, whatever they drink, I realize that people want to be happy in the future. And exactly, COVID-19 has taught us the same lesson, that running behind money is not going to help you, because such viruses will come and they do not differentiate between a billionaire and a millionaire and a street vendor. So they do not care who you are. They will come and they will do their job and they'll finish you. So I realized this, that everyone needs to be treated equal. Everyone needs to be helped with their day-to-day problems, and everyone needs help with their nutrition. And so whether it is digital transformation or whether it is Resvera, both things are focused on giving something good to the people, where people can cherish it, enjoy it, and give their blessings that yes, someone came and positively transformed our lives.
A true entrepreneur, I must say. So today, at time when Atmanirbhar Bharat and Vocal for Local is trending, how would you fit yourself in the debate of localization and globalization?
So there are lots of things which I would say that localization has to be a compulsion. Like when it comes to our data, you cannot compromise. When it comes to the food that we eat, you cannot compromise. You want to make all that locally, because you cannot trust any of the international companies now, especially what is coming from the east. So one of our neighbor in the east is, we cannot trust them anymore. So we want to make sure that whatever we can reduce from them, how much, whatever lesser number of import that we can do, and especially of the essential commodities, especially of the data. Our data should not go outside India, because in the future, maybe 4 years, 5 years down the line, if someone can conquer India, that would be on the basis of our data. Imagine the entire network system which is there in India today, and if there is one vulnerability which is known to our enemy, they will simply control that. Your entire communication gets over. No armies can move, no navy or no air force, no one can move anywhere. Then what will you do in that case? No one can travel, nothing can happen. So in that situation, they will conquer us. They don't have even need to put a nuclear bomb on us. They will simply conquer us through our network itself. So the country needs to take this thing very seriously, that data localization is compulsory now. There is no way we can avoid data localization. And besides data localization, there should be, government should be thinking on like at least few dozens of commodities and essential things which people need. Those we will make in India, and today probably the cost is 70%, 80% higher than what is made by our eastern partner, eastern neighbor. But tomorrow that costs will come down significantly, because a lot of employment will be getting generated in India, and then the volumes will increase. Once people start making anything in volumes, automatically the quality improves, the rates come down. I have seen that. For unfortunately, when we have to buy servers or storages from for our data centers, everything currently is being made out of our eastern neighbor and then Taiwan and in Hong Kong. Besides that, no one is today making servers or storages. Everything is getting imported from there. So that's the problem. The world became so controlled by few countries, one or two countries, that everything is today getting manufactured there. That dependency needs to come to an end, and somewhere we have to put the brakes, or probably increase the imports duty to 200%, 300%, 400% on certain commodities. Automatically things will change.
I know for sure you are a fitness enthusiast. You care about mental and physical well-being as much as you care about the social, political and economic health. What is your mantra for holistic living?
The most important thing is that an individual has to be happy and satisfied. If you're not content with whatever you already earned in your life, and if you're continuously like under pressure of doing something, or if you have that pressure of survival, that how am I going to survive, or how am I going to get my next meal, then definitely it becomes very, very difficult to be happy. But there are, I think so, more than 70-80% of people in our country have an assurance of their next meal, or they have an assurance of meal for at least a couple of months. So in such situation, the most important thing becomes is your peace of mind, and that you cannot achieve without looking inside. If you're continuously looking outside, you will never get peace of mind. So I've been to like Vipassana meditation, and I do yoga and pranayam also. So I think so everyone should learn that. Entrepreneurs need that, because without meditation or without fitness, if some of your body parts are paining, let's say you have a stomach pain or you have a migraine, and you have a migraine for 3-4 days, those 3-4 days are gone, and all the positivity you have built over a period, suddenly that falls. You are not able to take right decision. And what happens with entrepreneurs is, like, you in those 3-4 days, if you take one wrong decision, lots of things go wrong. You will be spending your 1 year, 2 year in fixing that decision. So you always want to make sure that your brain is in place. You don't get upset, you don't get angry unnecessarily, because I've seen that people who tend to get angry, they tend to lose their cool, they end up messing up their entire business. So you don't want to do that. Don't want to actually lose your cool. And meditation is genuinely true, and the entire world has accepted it now. Jack Dorsey, who is the CEO, founder of Twitter, he goes to Vipassana, and he has done more than like almost a half a dozen 10-day courses that he has done at Vipassana. So, and see the success that he enjoys today, and see the respect that he has earned worldwide, and the kind of love people have for him, the kind of trust which investors have on Jack Dorsey. So Vipassana will not just only help you, but it will help everyone around you. Whether the people around you are commercial, or whether they are social, or whether they are family members, everyone gets benefited along with you. So ensuring you are cool all the time and you are focused all the time, looking all the time inside, is very, very important for an entrepreneur.
True. We know Piyush Somani as a polymath. Is there something that Piyush Somani is not into and wishes to learn, or regrets not having conquered?
So there are lots of new technologies that are going to come. Now, quantum computing, my team members have already started working on it, and then lots of things are happening in AI. Now, we brought this software, AA+, which is core AI, but I actually don't know how the coding is being done at the back end. I only know the architecture of it, or as a business analyst, I would be able to say that how it works and how it happens at the back end, but I don't know the new generation languages now, Perl and Python, and so I want to learn. I have that kid inside me who wants to learn programming languages, who wants to do his hands dirty and make sure that I'm on top of the commands and control in the control of the code, because I've been a programmer and I've been a system admin also. So I've been like, there is a combination of both inside me. So the programmer has not grown beyond a particular level, and the system admin was stopped by other system admins in the organization, because they said like, you are not better than us anymore, and then they asked me to focus on business. Because so from there I transformed into a salesman and a marketing person, and then a complete entrepreneur who is into finance and every vertical of the organization. But yeah, I would still want to focus on programming and system administration. So whenever I get time, I want to get I would like to do that, but in future I would like to spend more time on it.
One person from history that Piyush Somani would like to talk to, and why?
Shivaji Maharaj and also Sambhaji. So not one, but I would want to talk to both of them, because I've been super duper inspired by both of them. Their journeys, like both of them have been phenomenal. The kind of humans they've been, you cannot see those kind of humans anywhere anymore. So how did they manage to do it? What was the energy that was driving them to be such kind of humans? And they were very close to gods. Like the definition of gods, whatever we know, they were very close to that. And how did they manage to do that? So I'm super inspired by both of these warriors of the history.
What would your advice be to the entrepreneurs in a post-COVID world, especially the MSMEs and the startups?
So everything is now going to be digital, and everyone has to accept it. So the world tomorrow is like, every human will be like separated from the other human through machines. Now we don't go and meet people, because we have that fear that, okay, we will be caught with this epidemic. People want to use machines to communicate with each other. So for everything in the future, machines are going to be there, and all the controls and everything of all the businesses will be controlled through machines. So we want to make sure, and all the SMEs also should make sure that whatever operations they have, first make sure you automate that, complete automation of that. And whatever cost you have to put, how you will be managing that cost, or maybe identify agencies who will do the implementation for you on a service model. Preserve your capex. Do not unnecessarily spend anything into the business operations now. So be very sure about not unnecessarily paying out anything for capital expenses. That is one of the most important thing. And then the complete digital transformation of your business. And will your business last another epidemic? Or for those who are already impacted in this epidemic, they also need to analyze whether 6 months or 12 months they can survive their current business operation, because there have been restaurants, or there have been so many businesses who are not allowed to, like bars, they are not allowed to open, and they will open, like in some states they try to open and they again close it, again they will open it, they'll again close it. So are you into some business which is not going to survive in this epidemic? So what is the good time to diversify? Because we, as an entrepreneur is very attached to his business. So I am the founder and CEO of ESDS, and entrepreneur. I am attached to ESDS definitely, but tomorrow if something goes wrong, I need to also have that thinking brain to analyze whether I can survive, whether I can sustain now. So if that option is not there, take a quick decision. Continuous re-evaluation of your old decision. What worked 1 year back may not work now. So what worked for Kodak 30 years back didn't work for them 10 years back. So you need to continuously re-evaluate your business, and then keep on changing your business models, keep on changing your financial models, and present that to your team, all those who are your well-wishers, discuss with them and change the plan, change the business model.
Absolutely. It was a pleasure to have you on Udyog Shastri. Any advice you would like to give to the viewers of SME Ventures?
One thing I would like to tell all the viewers is like prepare yourself for even the worst of the situations that may come in the future, because it's not just the epidemic which has caused the disaster. There can be anything else that can go wrong in the future. So it is very, very important to create a business model where you always maintain some cash reserves. So whatever a lot of startups were trying to do, continuously burning the cash, that model is not going to be supported in the future anymore. So people will ask you to run a profitable business model. Everything in the future is going to be available on a service model. So do not unnecessarily make investments into buying big plants and big machinery and land and building. I have seen a lot of entrepreneurs making that mistake. They go and buy a land and they make a huge building, again one more land, one more huge building, and then eventually in the bad days they say that okay, now I want to sell this. So you brought something for 50 crore rupees and now there is the market price is not even 15 crore rupees. No one is ready to pay even 1/5 for that, 1/3 of that. Whatever you invested. So making unnecessary investments which are not going to fetch any returns for you can end up in a disaster. And India, we have seen that people have a lot of inclination towards making secure investments. So you don't want to make like hundreds of crores of investment into secure investments. You want to make small investments into low risk businesses, not high risk businesses, something where there is low risk. Because wherever we have seen that whatever made us secure in the past, today all of a sudden that has got converted into insecurity. So do not have a lifetime perception about anything, that this is going to be secure for lifetime and this is going to be insecure for lifetime. One epidemic has taught us that everything can change, everything around you can change, you also can change completely. A lot of people have changed their size and shape in last 2-3 months also. So we have seen everything has changed around us in last 3 months of this epidemic, and we all want to make sure that we are going to survive for a long time, and to do that we need to run profitable business models so that no one else comes and acquires, because there would be a lot of foreign companies now coming with their dollars in hands and they would be looking to acquire Indian companies. We don't want that to happen. Next 1 or 2 years are extremely crucial. Don't get sold to any international company just because you are not able to sustain the operations now. Make changes, think, sit with your team, ask for more support from your people, ask for more support from people around you. Do not hesitate to come and talk to bankers, do not hesitate to come and talk to other entrepreneurs. Someone or the other outside is there to help you, and you just need to have proper communication with them. Do not have any perception about others, and do not try to also impose any perception about yourself on others. Be what you are, talk to people the way you are, and there would be a lot of people who will be there out there to help you out. And as an entrepreneur and as a successful businessman, I am also there. So if anyone wants to reach out to me, I'll be very happy, and with all the humility I am there. Whatever kind of support I can extend to everyone, I'll be there to help you around. Thank you very much. It was great talking to you, conversing with you, and thank you very much, team. Yeah.